Welcome.
Hi, I'm Katie Morell, and I am a writer and creative living in Bend, Oregon.
And I'm Karen Hawkins. I'm the founder of Rebellious Magazine for Women and co-editor-in-chief of the Chicago Reader.
You are listening to Of Course I'm Not Okay, the podcast. Join us as we talk about mental health, coping with quarantine, and creativity.
Some of our episodes, we'll chat with writers and creatives to get their take. Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Karen, it's been forever.
Oh my God, Katie. The last time we talked, it was 2020.
Can you believe that? I can't. Oh, shit. It's still 2020.
No, it can't still be 2020.
No, it should be 2025 by now. Deep breaths.
I think it's 2025.
Yes.
They definitely have aged at least 5 years, just from all the praying I'm doing that this year will just be over.
I'm with you. I'm so with you. I feel like, yeah, there's a pallor to my face versus like now versus maybe, 6 months ago. Pallor, is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I'm not necessarily agreeing with you, but that is what's going to happen to you in the Pacific Northwest. I'm just going to front that, like this healthy glow you had in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I'm going to dry up into a prune. I live in the desert now. I mean, that's the thing. Okay, so for the past 3 weeks, which thank you listeners for sticking with us. We were going to have our first episode last week, but I was living amongst moving boxes without any internet. So thank you for your flexibility. But yes, it's been 3 weeks and so much has changed, Karen. So much. I now live in Bend, Oregon. I used to live in Sausalito, California. And it's been quite the adventure, I will be honest. There's been some highs and lows, and one of the highs that happened ended up being a low. So I'll just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Okay. So basically my husband and I had a few movers come and pack up our truck for us. And one of the things that I did not want to take in our truck was this enormous dresser that we got 15 years ago when we lived in Chicago in a loft that doesn't go with any of our stuff. And I was like, I really don't want to sell this on Craigslist, but it weighs a ton. So I literally cannot get it up to, ground level in order to even sell it. And so I asked my neighbor if she would be interested in, I kind of offhandedly, it was actually I really didn't think she was going to say yes. I didn't think anybody would say yes. It looks like it's from 1994. The dresser does, not my neighbor. But anyway, so basically I just randomly mentioned to her, I'm like, oh, hey, do you want this dresser? And she was like, actually, yes. I think it would be great in our house. And I really was just stunned. I was like, okay, that's amazing. So simultaneously as she's saying yes, I have 3 very strong people who are moving all of my stuff. And so they can easily just just lob it into the back of her, SUV and off she goes. So it's kind of the ideal situation because it's okay, well, now at least I won't have to sell it on Craigslist when I get to Oregon. So I get to her, she takes it, the rest of the day, Tyler and I end up just moving so much stuff, cleaning everything, cleaning the nooks and crannies in our oven. It was down to that, and we had no food and we hadn't eaten in 10 hours. And so we decided to go to our favorite Mexican restaurant in San Francisco. And so we got in the car, showered, got in the car, and we passed my neighbor on the way out of our house, out of our neighborhood. And she was waving at us. And I just rolled down my window and I was like, hey, thanks so much for taking the dresser. And she's like, yeah, so about that. And I was like, what? And she's like, and her partner was like, hey, so you have really eclectic taste. And I was like,
oh my God, worst words.
I don't even know what that meant. I was like, what are you talking about? And so they didn't even laugh. They were pretty stone-faced and they were just like, yeah, I mean, they were being very kind, but they were like, yeah, so you forgot a few things. Okay, so this is the dresser that I used for all of my clothes. I guess that's what you use a dresser for. But anyway, that was my dresser for 15 years. And I'm pretty sure I checked everything. I was super diligent about getting rid of all of my stuff and putting it in boxes. Well, apparently I wasn't, because I had forgotten all of my socks in the dresser, and I was like, oh, my socks, like, and by eclectic, they meant that I have 6 pairs of socks that have beagles on them. And so like that's a
Yeah.
thing because I have a beagle, and also just like random other stuff. Like I just, I don't know. I'm not a big into like really sock fashion is not really a highlight in my life. But anyway, so I was like, oh, socks, like that's weird. Sorry about that. I'll pick them up later after we're done with dinner. And they kind of just kept standing there, and I was like, you okay? And they're like, yeah, it's not just socks. And I was like, what? And at this point, I just didn't know what to do. And Tyler was in the passenger seat and leaned over and was like, are you talking about my lingerie? Meaning he doesn't have one. Like he was trying to make a joke. And I was like, wait, you guys seriously have my underwear? Like for real? And they're like, yeah, like we were gonna put it in a bag and put it on your front door, but we didn't really want to touch anything. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Like I was,
What in the hell?
okay, Karen, I don't know if anyone who you don't want to see your underwear has ever seen your underwear, but no one I don't want to see my underwear has seen my underwear. And it's not that I'm like guarding really, I don't know. I don't really know how much I want to say publicly on a podcast about my fucking underwear, but like
Right.
basically. Anyway, so I thought like, okay, well, they probably have a couple pairs. That's super, super embarrassing. So we go to the dinner, we come back, and they have open the drawers in front of their house. So it's hard to explain, but you actually can't really see it unless you go in front of their house, but there's not it's not like a bunch of cars are driving by just staring at my underwear. It's more like hidden a little bit.
Okay, I just want to let that visual sit for just a second of cars whizzing by, peering at your underwear. Okay, continue. All right.
Oh yeah, so great. And so I went up there and I realized that they had my entire collection of underwear, all of my underwear. And I was just so mortified that I just like took handfuls of it and just started chucking it into the passenger seat of the car. Like seriously, like softball style, just like boom, boom, boom. Like you're just like, you go down for another one and you grab it and you throw. And like Tyler's now covered in my underwear. There's like a bra on our gear shift. Like I'm just like, just fucking drive. Like I was so mad. And so anyway, that's how my move started. Fun.
Ooh. I mean, what's amazing about this is that for listeners who like just tuned in, for instance, like if this was playing in another room and somebody walked in, they'd be like, oh man, what a wild anxiety dream Katie had. You're saying like that's like textbook, like let's check some boxes of like textbook anxiety dream. But no, you lived it.
Right. Like it's kind of on par with like showing up to 7th grade naked. 7th grade is not the right one. Maybe senior year of high school. So closer to not being a minor, but like, like just like like, how you get those dreams and you're like, oh God, like awful. I might have to edit that one out. I really wasn't thinking about 7th graders or anything like that. God.
Ugh. Right.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am glad that you survived, obviously, the mortification, and now that hopefully you gave your neighbors something to talk about. I mean, there's not a lot happening in quarantine, right? So that was like, that possibly was the highlight of their whole month.
It could have been the highlight of their whole month when they realized my eclectic underwear collection, or my eclectic sock collection extended to my eclectic underwear collection, which by the way, I'll never use the word eclectic again.
I was just gonna say, ooh.
Oh like, my
okay,
gosh.
So let's just workshop this a little bit. If you were gonna show people in your life your underwear, what word would you want them to use to describe it?
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't know. If I was to show people, like, just I don't
like, hey everybody, drive on by, come on over. I'm gonna have this dresser sitting out. Just take a peek, like the Macy's Christmas windows, but it's a dresser full of underwear. Like
stylish. I don't know. I don't know if I would.
Stylish. I like that.
Like, just like on trend, which they're not. Not that I really want to divulge more about my underwear, but yeah.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Oh God. I don't know. I don't know what I would say. I guess like stylish and clearly from Nordstrom, which they're not. I'm just trying to think of like a nice store that might sell underwear. I guess Nordstrom probably sells underwear. But yes, so then we drove the 8 hours in a sedan, which is in a 26-foot truck, 12 hours to Bend. So Tyler drove the truck and I drove the Subaru with Lucy, our dog. And she is not used to like working vents in cars, because the car that we had before our Subaru did not have any working vents. So we were always like either sweating or really, really cold. And so she sat in the front seat, which I know dog owners, I should not have my dog in the front seat, but I was trying very, very hard to be safe. And she, like, there was so much stuff in the back. But anyway, she sat in the front seat and put her nose flush with the AC vent for 11 hours and just snorted it like the hardest that she could possibly snort, because she was like, this is the best day of my life. I am snorting air conditioning. Like, finally, my family has a car that works. I don't know. It was a whole scene that only I saw. But anyway, wow. She kept me pretty entertained. It was actually kind of distracting after a while. Dogs.
Temperature controlled air. What?
Exactly, right? Our first sponsor for today's podcast is the same shitty mattress that you've been sleeping on for the last 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you, mattress. We know we should get rid of you. You're full of skin cells and mites and all kinds of weird shit, but who can afford a mattress?
Nobody can afford a mattress, even if they are rolled up into the size of a pin and delivered on your front door. I don't even know what that means. So let's just stick with it. Stick with the same shitty mattress you've been using for the past 15 years. Thank you. So then we got up here and everything. I mean, it's been interesting because I realized that the town that I lived in most recently, right outside of San Francisco, it's the closest town to San Francisco. So really, when I moved here, I realized like, oh, I still basically lived in San Francisco. Like, because even though it has more space, it's very, very city-like. I mean, we're always in San Francisco. So moving here, my very first day here, a ice cream truck passed my house.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen an ice cream truck since I was like 11 in Michigan. And so I naturally chased after it and got 4 ice cream sandwiches. And I was the oldest person, total creeper, with a bunch of like 7-year-olds, but no apologies, because also ice cream trucks do well in like decent neighborhoods. I'm pretty sure I paid $5 for an ice cream sandwich. So yeah, no regrets.
Artisanal. Today's episode of Course I'm Not Okay, the podcast, is brought to you by Rebellious Magazine. No, I know you've never heard of it. It's okay. It's fine. Listen, it's at rebelliousmagazine.com. It's a feminist magazine. It was founded by a mouthy black lesbian, and if you give a shit about mouthy black lesbians, you should read it, and you should send us money. rebelliousmagazine.com.
Don't miss it. Check it today. Now that I'm in Bend and we're back on air, like, we're a podcast now. It happened.
We are like a butterfly. What do butterflies do again?
That has emerged
like from caterpillars, right? Yes. We started off season 1. We are a fuzzy caterpillar.
Yes. Just meandering around a sidewalk. And now we've
trying not to get stepped on.
Yes, we were trying to dodge steel-toed boots, and now we are in a very safe space in a beautiful garden, and we have spread our wings into season 2. So here we are.
Cue the butterfly music. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we decided a couple weeks ago that your move to Bend was going to signal like season 2 when we felt like we could officially call ourselves a podcast. And what's funny about that is that literally only your location has changed. Like, we still don't know what we're doing. We're still making this up as we go. But now we're a podcast.
We're still in quarantine like all the rest of you. And we're still terrified of the election and viruses and all the things. But we're still happy to see each other on a weekly basis.
That is very true.
That's been good. But also, I think it's very, very interesting that you had this amazing idea a couple weeks ago to poll listeners basically and ask them what they want us to talk about in season 2. So this is kind of a preview episode because I kind of feel like we have some stuff cooking in terms of, guests and different topics and that kind of thing. But I'll be honest, our listeners delivered. Like, they really have amazing ideas.
I completely agree. And I was also delighted to discover that we had listeners.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Also, a highlight of this exercise was realizing there are people who do listen to this podcast.
Some of the things that people have been mentioning. So one of them is exercise. So how are people exercising right now? Are people exercising? Do they actually give a crap about exercising? Wine is a big one. I actually recently got a advertisement for a workshop that is called Break Up with Wine O'Clock.
Oh.
And yeah, I think wine, I'm not saying that wine is a problem for people because I can't speak for anyone else, but I will say that like maybe we're drinking more, I don't know, or less. I've heard both ways.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely. I saw a statistic that we are consuming 23% more.
Oh, really?
Alcohol
Wow.
as a people. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, there you go. So that's topic. Another one is snacking. I will say that my snacking habits have been refined in the past 7 months. In by refined, I just mean I snack more.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's it. Another one is perspective, and another one is resilience. I feel like these are all really, really good topics. The perspective one, I do have a small story to share with you because yesterday I woke up, went out for a run, listened to NPR, totally got depressed about the, election and all the other things that are happening in the world that are, not super uplifting. And I had an appointment to be on Zoom at 10:50 in the morning. And it was a friend of mine who she and her husband started fostering a little girl about 2 years ago, I'd say. I think, yeah. So the little girl was 9 months old 2 years ago. So when she came to them, and it's been a really, really, really hard process, really, really long. And this Zoom call was the adoption hearing.
Oh.
And I've never even been a part of anything like this before. Like, I didn't even know what it was like. All I knew was that my friend was trying to prepare me and a few other good friends for like how to prepare, which basically like we had to change our names. I mean, we basically couldn't have our last names on Zoom. There was going to be a court reporter there, a judge, like a CASA, like, I mean, it was a full hearing as if we were in the courtroom. And it was really interesting because like, I went there not knowing anything. Like I just showed up to be, supportive. And my friend's husband, his family is from Brazil. So people were calling in from all over the world, like from Rio, and like, it was amazing. Anyway, and so what was really amazing was for this 40 minutes, like it was so official. The judge was like, okay, you must, raise your right hand. Like my friend and her husband raised their right hand. I mean, the whole thing. And meanwhile, their now daughter is 3, and all you could see were her eyes, and like in Zoom, because she's like so short, and like it's just, but the whole thing, I mean, Karen, like there were probably 40 adults on this call, and like all of us were there to support that little girl. And it was like in the very beginning of the hearing, the judge said, like prospective parents, so and so and so and so, and like prospective, daughter, and da da da. And then like it got to the part where they had to basically swear that they would treat her as if she were a biological child, which included, official inheritance and all this stuff. And this is all, it's just so official. And so when the judge finally got to the end and she like basically declared them a family, like, I mean, everyone was crying, and it was just like,
Oh,
honestly, like, it was so beautiful, and I feel so lucky to have even been a part of something like that. But that is like perspective right there, because like that little girl doesn't know anything about COVID and doesn't know anything about Trump and doesn't know anything about, and it just like was this beautiful example of like life goes on, you know? And it's like, how amazing is it that like those kinds of stories are still in the world? Like people are still experiencing this amazing thing. And like this, you know, my friend and her husband got the jackpot with their daughter, and their daughter scored the jackpot with them. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like that's gives me so much faith in humanity. That's perspective to me.
absolutely. No, I don't know if I've talked about it on here. I went to a Zoom wedding, a WebEx wedding.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was the same kind of experience. It was very, I'm not going to give too many details away, but it was very short notice, and my friend was like, "Hey, what are you doing at 8:49 a.m. Central Time
So
on
specific.
right?" Um, and then she told me why, and I, of course, ditched work and was just like, "I have a family emergency."
Yeah,
And I mean, it was exactly like you're describing. Like, it was this reminder that like life is still happening and people are still committing to each other and like making it work. Like, yeah, having a Zoom adoption is not awesome. I'm sure they would rather have had you there with them, but having it on Zoom meant that the people in Brazil didn't have to fly here. Like,
exactly.
yeah, the Zoom
It's
wedding there, we were from all over the place. It was great.
That's so amazing. I mean, that's like something that would, you know, maybe some of the people might have been able to come to their wedding in person in quote normal times, but like the likelihood
Yeah,
of everyone being able to be there at the exact same time, like that's amazing. I mean, in like
yeah.
8:49 in the morning, like you were probably just like cheersing her with coffee versus champagne, or maybe you had champagne, who knows?
Well, it was a work day. They had champagne. A lot of us had, yes, mugs of coffee. And there was also an intimacy to it that you're not going to get. I mean, I know that sounds strange because it was Zoom, but it was funny because the judge didn't, it was her first WebEx wedding. And so she like didn't know how to work the technology. And like, you know, the parents couldn't figure out how to be it was just like this comedy of errors, but also really beautiful. And yes, everyone was crying. And, you know, it was funny, like people, two of her friends had on suit jackets and ties over their pajamas.
That's awesome.
And it was like,
That's
it was a whole,
perfect.
it was a scene. Yeah.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
that is very good perspective. And I think one of the other topics that we got from people, I didn't put it on our list because we already had it on our list, was how to find joy in quarantine
Yes.
and why it's still really important to do that and why it can feel strange when everything is so terrible and there's so many people suffering and that's all you hear about all the time. Why it's so important for us as individuals to still have these moments of joy, encourage other people to have moments of joy and to create them for other people and to still cling to that on the other side of this. We don't want to be a joyless people.
100%. And yeah, I mean, really, for the people who are listening, like, tweet at us and like let's go back to that, but like, you know, tell us what's bringing you joy, because we're so interested and we really want to talk about this, and this is going to definitely be a theme, I think, throughout, you know, season 2. And I mean, we had so many other topics that were just wow, like
Yeah.
award-winning topics. I mean, some of the stuff, like, it's just, I think one of the things that I absolutely loved that someone suggested was, you know, how do you exist when you're someone who plans all the time? Like if you plan like, okay, this is going to be the vacation I'm going to take in, you know, 2022, this is going to be the thing that I do then. Or I mean, even if it's like other things like, oh, I have a wedding to go to, or oh, I, you know, even planning for like, I want to run a marathon in, you know, 4 months or something like that. Like, what do you do? So that's one topic that someone proposed, and I love that.
Yes, I know who that was. I know you're listening. Hello. And
Hello.
and she's a business owner, and I have been to a workshop that she teaches about how to project out as a business owner and how to set goals and how to manage your goals and how to iterate your goals and how to be really intentional about meeting them and not meeting them. So yeah, I mean, she's like a planning ninja. And now it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. Totally. I mean, I think it would be interesting also to talk about like how are people going to handle the holidays? Like how are people going to
Oh
see
man,
family during the holidays? I think that's going to be a whole potential,
that's
topic
a
that we talk about.
really that's a really good one. I think it's less about how are we going to see each other and more about am I going to have to just flat out lie to my family? Like I have a friend who's just like, I'm gonna have to tell my mother a week before Thanksgiving that I have COVID. I'm just
Oh,
gonna lie and tell her.
wow.
I mean, like literally,
Oh,
like
because you can't, like, it's too contentious.
yes, like I don't,
Holy
God love you,
crap.
boomers, but so many of my friends with boomer parents, and I have boomer relatives who are like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna have Thanksgiving at my house. It's like, no, wait, are you not watching the same news I watch?
Yeah,
You
totally.
think I'm coming to your what? No.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, I really hope you're not listening. I love you and I want to see you, but I am not coming to your house
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving.
I know. I mean, I think that like the post holiday, like, like meet up with quarantine involved or something like that, or maybe testing. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. Hopefully there will be a vaccine, but who knows if anyone's going to take that vaccine. And like, so yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack there. But also, like, if you are dating someone that you're kind of thinking of not dating anymore, or married to someone that you're thinking of not married to anymore, how do you break up in the middle of a pandemic? Like, that is a real topic right there. And I think it's also just like, I love the idea that someone came to us where, how do you make friends when you can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. You're not just happening upon cool people at, like, a cultural event or something like that.
No, exactly. I mean, especially, I feel like Chicago, especially during the summer, we're all out all the time. You have to be out all the time. You have to soak in as much vitamin D as you can in those 3 months to store it for the rest of the year. So, yeah, I mean, you're constantly out and meeting people and doing different things. And so to like not have that, ugh, and then
Yeah,
not have a refresh of who you see is also really hard.
totally. I mean, I kind of feel like that here. Like, Tyler and I put a little note on a few of our neighbors' house, like their door the other day. And I was like, oh, do you want to have a social distancing happy hour in our driveway? And we did last week. And it
It's
was
awesome.
nice. But it was also like, hey, so we're going to stalk you and we're only going to hang out with, like, thank God we have really close friends close by, like, that we've known for years. And so, like, those people are people that we'll see and we continue to see and we're thrilled to see. And the people who are across the street don't know what's coming to them because we're going to be wanting to hang out all the time. Like, I mean, I guess socially distanced, but we don't know anybody else here. So what are you supposed to do? Today's podcast is brought to you by the word cute. Don't say it.
To an adult human, ever.
Just don't say it. If you are under the age of 12, feel free to say the word cute as often and as, in any circumstance, no problem. After 12 years old and one day, you age out of the word cute. So there are only 3 reasons to ever say the word cute. One of them is commenting on your friend's shoes.
The other one, trying to make it sound like your friend's baby is actually attractive.
The third one is baby animals of any kind. Puppies, baby goats. You get it. Thank you. This has been brought to you by the word cute.
Please stop saying it.
Forever.
And I think wintering is also a whole series. Like, what's going to be the thing that we all pick up during the winter, right? I know it was sourdough bread, it was canning, we're all in RVs. Like, what's going to be the winter thing that we all try to do?
Yeah, totally. I think that's like very. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but I definitely picked it up. I'm pretty sure that's Flopsy saying that,
Yeah.
she's had it with this podcast.
She's really so over it and she has something to say. She has
Yes.
some ideas for what we should be talking about.
She has some ideas. Today's podcast is brought to you by Tuxedo Chocolates. this is a very exciting product and service that will be available once we get at least $1 million in seed funding. And so we are doing an advertisement to attract all of you investors out there with a little extra cash to spare.
Correct. So the way that Tuxedo Chocolate works, and please see a previous episode, of course, I'm Not Okay, for more details, but essentially an individual in a tuxedo will come to your house at the same time every day and bring you a square of chocolate. Just a square. No more, no less.
It's really the perfect solution for those of you who have willpower issues when it comes to sweets. So hit us up, venture capitalists. Tuxedo Chocolates could be your next Facebook. Thanks so much.
Today's tech unicorn, Tuxedo Chocolates. So we talked about the part about relationships ending, but what if you have a relationship end in quarantine and then you want to start dating again?
Yes.
Like, how do you, I mean, I know a couple people, I will say, who have had quarantine booze. Like, they got booed up during quarantine. Now we're in traditionally cuffing season, and now it's ending, and it's just like, well, now what do? You don't want to winter alone.
Right.
But yeah.
But do you winter with the people that you've kind of hooked up with safely, even if you don't really like them that much? There's a lot of questions here. If anyone listening is in a dating situation, I feel like both you and I are not in that situation. So it's kind of like, it would be nice to have someone who would be willing to share their personal experience. That would be amazing.
Yes.
Yes. But I feel like we have so much excitement coming. Like, we actually have some really exciting guests that we already have lined up that I'm like over the moon about. And so, yeah, I think season 2 is just going to be really fun. I'm just so happy to be back.
I know. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Friend.
Yes, thank you. All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye. Do you have cabin fever? Do you need to get away?
Do you want to see the people in your life that you miss the most?
Come on down to the Of Course I'm Not Okay Corral. I don't really even know. Okay, it makes me laugh so hard. I don't even know what else to say about it. Shout out to you, Caroline, for that idea. I really want to make this happen, Katie. I don't know how we can do it.
I mean, basically what we're talking about here is a trailer park that is filled with trailers that is exclusively for lesbians, but there is one yurt for someone who is not a lesbian, and I'm very excited about that yurt. And so that yurt does have a bathroom, just like the trailers. So come on down to the Of Course I'm Not Okay, the podcast, Lesbian Corral. It's perfect.
I'm in.
That's it. Yeah, this is the future.
Hopefully, yes.